So I just want to kickstart us and ask some questions that I think maybe will be important for all of us, but they can generate more questions from the rest of us. So the first question that I will ask then, and as we have this discussion, is how should we handle our love relationships? Now, when you talk about love relationships, there is love between boy and girl. That's what we understand by love relationships. So, I was telling my daughter Shekena early in the morning that, you people see us married, but you forget that one day we were single. We also have passed through some things. So how do we handle love relationships in a godly way, Shali?
Oh. I was so ready for Dagi to start us off. Okay. Hi everyone. I was telling Pastor that any one of these questions can be a full day seminar. Yeah. So it is really difficult to answer that question in 3 sentences. Yeah. But how do we handle our relationships in a godly way? I think we have the Bible that tells us how a husband should be, how our wives should be, how we should behave as single people, how we should behave as brothers and sisters in the house of the Lord. So it is very clear. It's not like vague and opaque, as some would call it. But if I come down to the nitty-gritty of how we handled ourselves before we got married, it came down to what boundaries are you keeping? What conversations are you having? Who are you hanging out with? Does your pastor know? Simple things like those that would help just to keep you pure and holy before the Lord. I don't know if you have something you can add.
Does your dad know? Just to walk in that relationship in the light. When you live in the light, then you're safe. So the light then means you're open to scrutiny, you're visible, and in visibility you can be helped where you can't see by others that can see as well. So just walking in the light, and not being afraid of then walking in the light, because sometimes people will be tempted to walk in the secret, live their lives secretly in a relationship, and that can be a challenge. Yeah.
I've just thought of something I want to add, because there's a question here that asks, why should you wait? Why should you stay pure before you get married? And I think this question is always answered in terms of, there are diseases, or it is a sin, or you can get pregnant, there's HIV, things like those. But you're never really taught the why. Why? Because God gave these laws to us for our own good. So why? What was He keeping us from? What was God's intention? Because this gift is beautiful in marriage. It is beautiful in marriage. But when you open this gift before you're married, imagine even if you've been dating 10 years and you love this person and you're going to marry them, it is still sin. You're still introducing mistrust into your marriage. You're introducing a problem into your bedroom. And that's the part that we don't talk about. That you will regret it for the rest of your life. It doesn't matter how small, how far you went. How far is too far? It doesn't matter how far you went. That far that you went, you will regret it for the rest of your life. And you will need to come back to one another and say, I repent. Forgive me for allowing you to kiss me. I repent before the Lord. And allow the Lord to heal that part, because it will affect your marriage. And without with God, everything works. Cindy. But aside from that, you will struggle in your bedroom. Yeah.
Maybe just to add on what Shali is saying, and thank you so much, Shali and Dagi, for being part of this and how you've answered that question. One of the things that we forget is that we are flesh and blood. Hii ni nyama na kuna damu ndani and inachemka. So we think sometimes that we are too tough or too hard and I can control myself. See, I know if I just get to this point here, and I'll just, it's like almost I'm jumping out of the window immediately. Don't pull one of those, Because I'm looking at Potiphar's wife and Joseph. I think that woman was very beautiful. She must have been very, very beautiful. And Joseph knew hapa kuna maneno. And Joseph knew that this lady, as much as she's now stroking my hair, if I don't do something now, then I'm in for it. And one of the things that Joseph wanted to do is to honor God, but not only to honor God, but to honor his boss, who was Potiphar. And so when we are relating, we are not just honoring God, but we are honoring the relationships that are around us, and we are honoring that person that you're in a relationship with, your partner. You're honoring them because you're saying, like what Shirley is saying, there are regrets that come later in life. And if we don't put our boundaries and say, hey, my friend, we need to honor God. I remember when we were dating, one time I went to visit Barnabas, uko zima. And we were there, we were just having a good time. I've gone to visit my boyfriend. Of course, we are engaged. We are going to get married. Hey, then, when the stories are over and the music is over, you begin to look at each other and you're looking at each other like, what's next? And you don't plan. I had not planned that day that now today I will kiss today, But you're there and you're wondering, so what? There's like a silent moment that time. And that's the time that Joseph said, hey, this Potiphar's wife, she's told me all those things. The weather is good. Sijui, have you gone to Java of late? Sijui, these days they serve chicken soup and all that and mushrooms. And you're just enjoying, I think we should go for our next date there and eat chicken feathers. All those things. And once that is over with the chicken feather soup, hey, that's when you realize, what is within me is telling me take off or stay. And if I stay, if I choose to stay, I bear the consequences. And so I remember us standing next to the door. And I looked at him and he looked at me. And you are like, wana hapa nikubaya. The heat is rising. And both of us know we are alone in this 2-bedroomed house. Who will ever know? Who will ever know except the two of us, God and the enemy? Because the enemy will come after you and remind you. For sure he will remind you and tell you, do you remember? Do you remember? Ishindwe. Do you remember? Ishindwe. Do you remember? So you're always, And at that point, I remember we held our hands and we said, let us respect one another. Because it was almost a kiss. And then after the kiss, it's like, Mimi, sirudi yuko. Sitarudi yuko, because I had lived a life that was not good before. And so I respected my husband enough to say the life that I lived was not going to be this life that I live. I have chosen to live a pure life, and I've chosen to walk this route. So I am not going to make another man fall with me, because I have been in the past before I got saved, or when my one foot was in and one foot out. I know what it meant. And so I was going back to Egypt. And at that point, thank God, at that point, I decided, no, this must stop. I cannot make you fall. So I would have sat there and said, he made me. No, I need to make the choice. I need to say, I honor you enough. I honor you enough to help you make a good choice. And for me to make a good choice. Because if we don't, then I don't know what is going to be there. So honoring one another. Are you choosing to honor one another in your relationship before you get married? Are you choosing to honor one another?
Wow, thank you. And so because of that, we chose not to meet in the house. It's dangerous. When you're two, you're alone somewhere, things can happen. But, the Bible doesn't give us practical steps. The dating that we read in the Bible is in the Hebrew, the Hebrew culture. We live in a modern world, and now there's dating and there's courting. How can we date and court each other in a way that is healthy, in a way that is beneficial to both of us, in a way that we don't fall into those traps? How can we date and court in this day and age in a healthy manner? How can you take that lady for coffee and yes, it's just for coffee, just for lunch? There's an app a dating app in the US. It says just for lunch. We just for lunch, nothing more beyond the lunch. How can we develop those healthy relationships, Dagi?
I was waiting for Shali to start. I think the principles remain the same, but we have to act them out in practice. So one of the things that my wife and I did is that we dated in open and public spaces. So either in a coffee shop, or she'd visit me at my house. My parents were very welcoming people, so we would hang out at the house and my folks were there. And then we had a shop. My parents had a shop just at the back of our house, and that was my job before I got a job. And my girlfriend then would help me sell groceries at the shop. So we hung out in safe environments. We also had mutual friends that we hung out with who knew about us, and then would also be able to, we would be accountable to them. And then we were also accountable to our leadership. So it's important then to bring this to the open, to those that have spiritual oversight over you. And then also to our parents. Shali's mom loved me. For some reason, I met Shali in her mom's house. And so she took a liking to me. So it was easy for me to visit and knock the door and not be afraid of who's going to open the door. So she even had a nickname for me. After the service, you can ask me. But we became very good friends. So those are some of the... Be open also to your friends, just your circle, your friends, your spiritual oversight, your family. That really helped us.
Thank you. Please, you can go ahead and write your questions as we talk about these things. You may be disagreeing with some things we are saying here. You may agree. Dagi is very lucky. Grace had told me how her mother is. And so I used to reach the corner. Kimathi yesterday, I reached the corner, then I say bye and take off. Until the day that she invited me to be officially introduced. And I'll never forget this. The mother said in mother tongue, I have set you free. I said, set you free. I have set you free. So from that day is when I became liberalized. But before that, I was walking in a lot of fear. But these things are important. Why are we putting this? Why are we saying what we are saying? Is not just to go by the rule of the book, and I like what Charlie said, understanding the why helps a lot. Because so often, when we put the cart before the horse, we should suck it to the process. We need to get to know each other. The dating and courting time is to get to know each other. You see people in church, even in church, you see somebody altogether lovely, wait until you start knowing them. Then you will then begin to say, okay. Yeah, so 1, 2, if things had happened, and how do you now reverse that again? So it's just good to take your time, and it takes a long time. The experts tell us it's about 6 months before you can really say you know somebody to some healthy extent that you can then say, when you're getting married, Charlie and Grace here, and Dagi and myself, we have committed ourselves. See, like Kura, 5 years you can change. This is for a lifetime. If you chose the wrong person, then you have to sit, you're always hopeful. People are talking about it in 2027. But for us here, it's now, hey, what will happen? We have to, it's forever. So those are some of the things that we need to be careful about. Anything that you want to add on that? Moving on swiftly. If you have questions on, relationships, dating. Now, there are people who say, very spiritual, they say there's one person for one. Emma is waiting for that one. That one. So is there that one for each of us? Grace, is there that one person? The soulmate. Am I your soulmate?
Would you really want to know the answer? Well, when you say that there is one person for just the other person, here we are talking about before you get married. Hopefully. It is before you get married. Because when you get married, then surely it should be just that one person. You can't have many people in your lives. You have your husband, you have your wife, and that's the person that you're married to. So it's not an open marriage. I know these days we are really hearing about open marriages where if things are not working out well, then I can go and be with so and so for 2 weeks or for 2 nights or for 3. Apana. It is one man, one woman. When God created man and he made Adam and Eve, and not Adam, Eve, and Leah. Or Adam, Eve, Adam, Eve, and Leah, or Steve, Adam, and Eve. It was Adam and Eve. So let's start there. There is Adam and there is Eve that were created for one another. But when we come to now the relationships before marriage, so we are clear about marriage. When we come to the relationships before marriage, it's unlikely that you will just have this one person. Why? Because you've not yet made that commitment. So you're still searching. So you may be in a relationship with one person for a long time, but hey, if you are glued that this must be and should be, and huyu tutaanguka nae, there is no other person, then what happens the day that you break up? So it is one person in marriage, but out of marriage until the time. That is why when we bring people together at the altar, we ask, is there any reason why the two of you should not get married? Because now you're saying, I am committing myself to this marriage. And we tell people, say goodbye to the others, because it is now being made legal, and we have decided that we are staying together till death do us part. So at that time, you are free to still change your mind and say, no, I really don't want to get married. So to answer that question, before marriage, it cannot be just one for one, and, or one, it is many, because you're still searching, you're still not yet committed, and maybe at the last minute, you may discover something that you're not able to live with. And at that time, you're still free to say, you know what? I choose to walk away. I hope that has.
Yeah, so I think in short what she's saying, don't wait for the one. Just relate. And in the relationships, you'll find, God will guide you. And you'll be able to see some things that may be, I think this one we can do life together with. There are the questions. So I think we can now go into your questions since there are many. Once you start dating, how do your interactions change? And let me just tie these two together. In a Christian relationship, how far is too far in terms of physical contact? That's a common question. That's a very common question. And that one I always say I will not answer. It is left to you. Everybody knows their body. Grace told you about our story. And then let me just give this illustration to help us. If you are somewhere where there's a very high cliff, are you going to go to the tip of the cliff and to try to see how far is too far. You may, by the time you're realizing, you may be falling down off the cliff. If you're like me, who fear heights, I will stay far away from the tip there, so that I am safe. So please, let's not play with fire. We are flesh and blood. We are saved, yes, but we are still flesh and blood. And so, can we be honest with each other? I think that's what Grace and I did. Can we be honest with each other? There's some people, even if you shake their hands, there can be some chemistry. So just the shaking of the hand. So just be honest with yourself and say, okay, we'll just be saying, and that's fine. So you know yourselves.
Can I add something?
Yes.
Whenever that question is asked, it means somebody wants to try some things. Yeah, you mean I want to try, but I just don't want to go all the way. But what part is allowed? What part of all? Nizaguza mpaka wapi? Alafu nikisikia nimetetemeka nitoke. Yeah, exactly. You will say that point. I was going to say, instead of thinking about how far is too far, I need to be thinking about the benefits of not going anywhere. The benefits of getting married. And I never touched this guy's hand. We never hugged. We never kissed. We never did it. Let me tell you, the benefits of going to the altar, and when the pastor says, you may now kiss your bride, he is now kissing your bride. He's not saying you may once again. He's not saying you may one more time kiss your bride. You may continue kissing your bride. He says you may now. The beauty of having that experience, let me tell you, you cannot replace it with anything else. There's no alternative. There's nothing can replace that. And if you can't do that honestly and genuinely at the altar, there is something you have robbed yourself, and it's yourself. You have done it to yourself, and you will regret it, and there's nothing you can do about it, unfortunately. There's something you wanted to say about relating without the physical.
Yes. I was going to say that the benefit of not focusing on the physical is that you can begin to know someone very well and deeply. When you engage the physical, it will be very hard to get to know, because you're going to spend the rest of your life with this person. Before you make that decision, you better know them. And what better way to know them but than spending time with them, getting to know, their what they think, what their values are, what they are intelligent about, what their struggles are, what their family background is. My wife and I did a book, and we were dating. It is called Fit to be Tied. And so we would ask each other hard questions. So I got to know about her family. I got to know how she thinks about in-laws. I got to know, some things that I didn't agree with her about, and some things she agreed with me or didn't agree with. So I entered with my eyes open. Yeah. So staying away from the physical. So then, they're not too far. Those far things, you will do them. Yeah. You'll do them. So relax. Just focus on getting to know the person.